and welcome to New Jersey Politics with Laura Jones. I am Laura Jones, and we are so glad to have you here. The mayor of East Hanover is making news across the state of New Jersey. He decided to switch parties from Democrat to Republican. Now, it happens, but he wasn't alone. The entire town council switched from Democrat to Republican, and it's a move many are calling unprecedented. We're going to be talking about that with the Morris County Republican chair. Also on the show, we have Janice Kovich. She's the mayor of Clinton Township. She's going to be on the show to talk about some of the happenings in one of the most photographed towns in the state. First, though, we are talking to the Morris County Republican chair, so let's get to it. East Hanover recently made headlines when their mayor and entire town council decided to switch from the Democratic to Republican Party. Joining me now to talk about those changes is Laura Alley. She's the chairwoman of the Morris County Republican Party. Laura, it's really good to see you here. Thank you for joining us.
It's great to see you. Thank you for having me. We're so excited about this story, so we're thrilled to tell it.
Well, let's start at the top. A lot of people were taken by surprise. What's going on? What's the story behind the story? I mean, it's one thing for a person to switch parties, but for 5 people to switch parties, what's going on?
Yeah, the whole governing body of East Hanover switched. So the mayor and the council people, so it would flip from Democrat control to 100% Republican. And we always say it's a great time to be a Morris County Republican, and this just goes to prove that it's the truth. Like, it's such a great run county. Our commissioner board does a phenomenal job. It's a great place to live, to work, to raise a family. And we are just so excited that these guys made the flip and are going to be part of our family. We're welcoming them with huge open arms.
Well, when I was reading some of the articles, again, trying to get up to speed myself on what was going on, the mayor, they said, listen, the reason we're doing this is because we want to be more in line with our constituents, and our constituents are more Republican. So why switch parties as opposed to maybe just sticking with or changing policy? You know, what was it about being a Democrat that they said, no, we don't want to do this anymore. We want to be Republican?
Well, I'm not going to steal their thunder because they want to do their own press roadshow, so I won't speak too much for them. But I will say that a lot of the situation in suburbia now is not great anymore. Like, I live in Chatham, in East Hanover, and all these surrounding towns. This Democratic policy of catching and releasing criminals and bail reform that really did not work out well. People are coming into our towns, they're breaking into our homes, they're trying to steal our cars. And I know that was one of the things on the top of the mind, like with the inability to fix these situations that are really stressful for community and suburban leaders. I think, the Democratic Party, let's face it, it's not the party of John F. Kennedy. I think John F. Kennedy's probably turning over in his grave. And East Hanover always gave us such large pluralities at the top of the ticket, voting Republican. So I always found it odd that the local legislative body was all Democrats. So about a year ago, we started talking to these guys. We started talking to their one councilman that was running and up for election last year. And, he was like, I think I might switch because I feel like I'm more of a Republican. And we started talking back then. I mean, the conversations really heated a couple of weeks. They have a great working relationship with the neighboring mayors, especially Mayor Ace Gallagher of Hanover. He was critical in this because they trusted him. They've worked together on stuff. And, this wouldn't have been made possible without him and without his relationship there with these guys.
Some people might say, well, these were people who tended to skew a little bit more conservative anyway. Is that necessarily the case? I mean, because you look at New Jersey as a state overall, people just think blue, Democrat, a little bit more liberal.
Right. Well, yeah, it is obviously, unfortunately for us Republicans, there's a million more registered Democrats, but that number's changing every month lately. I think we've been eating into that margin. And this, of course, is going to be a big boom for us because not only did the council switch, but a great portion of their friends and their fellow folks that were Democrats, like every day we're processing more voter affiliation changes. So I think it's going to be great. And I think it's a great story. One of the things that makes me really happy is it's a great story for towns like Madison and Chatham Borough, who used to be Republican and are now all Democrat. I think, it's going to give the local Republican parties there a lot of hope. Like, hey, there's nothing that's impossible. And with a lot of hard work and the right candidates, we could flip more of these towns. I believe strongly.
That leads to my next question about the bigger picture. And what do you think this is signaling about the current political climate in New Jersey? What do you think about that? Because a lot of people are saying, I don't like what the Democrats are saying. I don't like what the Republicans are saying, like the more extreme side. So what do you think this is saying, big picture? What's that telling you as a county party chair?
I think the big picture is that, people aren't happy with the current leadership in the state. I mean, look at Jack Ciattarelli. He came within 50,000 votes of unseating Governor Murphy. And I feel like there's a middle, people don't like the extremes on either side of the party. I'm one of them. I don't like people that are too extreme to the right. I don't like people that are too extreme to the left. And I don't think that speaks to what New Jersey is. I think New Jersey is definitely more purple than blue. And I think there's hope, like with Governor Christie, when he won two successive terms as governor, I think there's hope for us to take back the Republican Party, to take back the governorship. And I think this year is super important because I think you're gonna see a lot of action in Trenton when we flip 5 Senate seats and take over the majority in the Senate, and potentially flip enough Assembly seats to take over the majority in the Assembly. So I think it's a great time to be a Republican. I think most people in New Jersey, all my friends in Chatham are Democrats, and we agree on a lot of things. Everybody wants their families to be safe, the ability to have freedom and make a living. It's just like the 10%, that people really firmly disagree in. And I think this is a good opportunity for people to come together and get aligned.
I mean, even though the Democrats have control of the legislature and the governor's office, you made a couple of references to statistics in the Senate and Assembly. Republicans making gains, clearly a possibility and a likelihood, but to actually become in the majority, it's not out of sight. So
It's
can you
not out
talk
of
a little
sight.
bit about how, because this is a legislative election, 2023, then 2025 a gubernatorial, but looking at 2023, how is the party feeling about their chances in going into the legislative election?
The party's feeling fantastic. I can tell you, Bob, our chairman, Bob Hugan, is planning, a summit for a couple of weeks in March, and already we're getting huge amount of people signing up to come. The party is energized. Everybody feels great. And I think people are willing to put in the work. I mean, last year, it wasn't quite obviously the red wave that we were hoping it would be. And I personally believe it's because abortion was on the ballot. And, that drove a lot of Democrats. It really motivated the Democratic base. But I feel like, we put in the work. We knocked on a lot of doors. We do a lot of unique and different things in Morris County campaign wise, not just traditional phone calls and door knocking. But I feel like our voter contact is second to none. And I feel like throughout the state, there's a lot of momentum, a lot of really good collaboration. And I think Chairman Hugan is going to pull off big wins for us. I really do.
I want to, before we close out, just going back to the mayor and the 5 council members who switched their seat, is there a concern that it could backfire? I mean, you had Jeff Van Drew, congressman in South Jersey, who was a Democrat, flipped to Republican. But sometimes voters don't like that. And it could be used against them, like I think to the Arlen Specter campaign in Pennsylvania when he was a Democrat, then Republican for so many years, and then the Democrat lost that primary challenge in the last years of his life of public service. Is there a concern that the voters are going to be upset that, hey, we voted for you as a Democrat and now you're changing to Republicans?
I don't think so at all. I think East Hanover is naturally a Republican town. The response that we have gotten from the community, from the members in East Hanover, from the surrounding towns, has been so overwhelmingly positive. People, in fact, we've asked Mayor Panullo, who's a wonderful guy. He really is he's going to be such a great member of our family. We asked him to speak at our upcoming March convention. So he'll be addressing the whole body of Republicans, over 770 county committee people. Another couple of hundred people will be there as far as elected officials. And he's going to be front and center and address the crowd. And there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to get a roaring standing ovation. People are just thrilled with this. They're so excited to open them up, and I feel like the voters in East Hanover are just as excited.
Well, Laura Alley, thank you so much for taking the time
Thank
to
you.
talk to us, and we would love to have you back again to keep us up to
Thanks,
date
I
on
would love it.
what's coming on with some of the. I recognize a lot of those names in the primary challenge that
Yeah,
you're
it's
talking
gonna
about.
be
So
good.
love to follow up with you on that.
Absolutely, anytime. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And thank you. Well, joining me now is Janice Kovich, the longtime mayor of Clinton, and we are so happy to see you. If anybody has got to say, it's probably one of the most photographed spots in the state, the Red Mill in Clinton Township. It's absolutely beautiful. What's it like to live there? Not only be mayor, but just to live in such a beautiful, literal, picturesque town.
It's funny. I grew up in Clinton. So I went to Clinton Public School in North Hunterdon. And as a kid, I'm like, oh, I'm getting out of Dodge, because it was small. Everyone knew what everyone else was doing. The neighbors all looked out for one another's kids. And as a kid, that's the last thing you want.
Yeah.
But when I got married and I was having kids, the first thing I said is I need to come back home. I need my kids to have that same experience. And we're a community. We fight like a family and we love like a family.
And there's so much to do there. It's not just a place where, people stop to get a photo. Although I would be curious as to places in New Jersey, like there has to be something trending, how many spots are at the Red Mill. But there really is a lot to do. A lot of people come to your town. There have been movies made there. I took my kids there to the art museum, classes there. So can you talk a little bit about some of the fun things to do in your town?
What's exciting about it is it's a small community. We look as if we came out of Dickens days, and depending on what you want to do. I mean, April, when fishing season opens, that's first Saturday of fishing season. I will see 30 people lined up on the patio at the art museum waiting to get into the river at 8 a.m. when I come by, and they're all like, they've got their gear, they're ready to go, and they just get in. So, we bring people for that. We bring people who are kayaking. We bring people who are paddle boarding. We bring people who are coming to do stuff at the art museum. So the Hunterdon Art Museum is celebrating its 70th anniversary this year. The Red Mill is celebrating its 60th anniversary this year. So, and every weekend, there's always something going on. Right now we're in the middle of Sweethearts Week. So all of our business community is participating. You go downtown, you enter a raffle to get whether it's a dinner or a gift basket. Again, it's to bring people in and to show what it is that we have. Going into March, we start with the St. Patrick's Day. So we have our Run of the Mill, which is a 5K race that March 11th. And then Sunday is the parade and after party over at the Red Mill. So we'll have, 3,000 people in town watching the parade. And then a group of them will go over to the Red Mill afterwards. We have an after party hosted by the Friendly Sons. And this year we have the Amish Outlaws again playing.
So many things to do, so much fun, but there's always work to be done. So can you talk a little bit about your priorities and some of your initiatives as the mayor of the town? Some of the things that you are looking at in 2023, some of what you're looking to tackle and get done.
So yeah, as like most communities, we're all struggling. We're in budget season now, so it is how do you maintain services and still keep a budget that is manageable and doesn't make taxes crazy for residents. So in addition to our current, we also own a water utility and a sewer utility. So we provide water and sewer to other towns outside the town of Clinton. So a lot of what we're working on is our infrastructure. 12 years ago, when I came in as mayor, we started putting together an asset management plan for our water company so that I have 80 miles of water main. And to understand what the priorities are, what the costs are, and ensuring that health and public safety, all of our drinking water meets the quality standards for our residents and for our ratepayers. Same thing with our sewer, being able to ensure that all of the health and public safety of the sewer mains are continuously looked at. Whether we're relining or whether we are, just kind of TVing them to see what's going on. We know that if we invest in our infrastructure, it's less costly than if you leave it and then you all of a sudden have a water main break or a sewer line failure, because those always happen in the middle of the night on a holiday in the middle of a snowstorm.
Oh, of course. Always, always. Well,
So infrastructure is definitely one of our biggest.
yeah, yeah. Well, being a mayor of a small town has so many benefits, and you're always around, so you're probably always hearing from people,
Yes,
whether you're grabbing a cup of coffee or what have you. But you also host a show
I
called
do.
My Town, where you talk and you highlight local lawmakers, how they're making decisions, what it is that they do. So can you tell us a little bit about what you've learned as you host a show yourself? What insights you've been able to gain?
It's interesting because we all get so caught up in what we're doing in our small communities. You tend to have that narrow focus. But then when you talk to mayors in other towns and you realize some of them are experiencing the same issues that I'm experiencing, we all are feeling how the pressure of the health benefits and what that means to our budget. So we're talking with one another going, all right, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to look at these HIFs. We're going to try and manage our budget this way. So it's a great opportunity and it's great for residents. I try to be as transparent as possible. And sometimes I believe I put too much information out, but then I'll get a question from a resident that will be, how come this is happening when we've been talking about it for a year? And
Right.
you realize that not always are residents, while I'm ingrained in this every day, not all residents are. Same thing
Right.
for other communities. So it's the ability to highlight all of the work. Politicians sometimes get that negative connotation, and really we're not locally. We're not politicians. We're public servants who are just trying to do the best for our communities. So it's great to find new partnerships and to realize that there are a lot of similarities. And again, it helps to take the party politics out of it and really focus on, what's important to the 300 plus towns that have less than 10,000 residents in them.
How is your downtown doing? I loved, and it was pre-pandemic. Coming, like I said, I had a daughter. I have a daughter, and when she was younger, she would come to the art museum, take classes, and I would stroll up and down Main Street, shops, restaurants, ice cream, coffee shops. How are those businesses doing coming out of the pandemic, coming out of incredibly difficult financial times? How are they faring, and what's it like there now?
We are still a bustling downtown, which is so great. I'm so grateful for it. When the pandemic hit, it was a struggle for a lot of our small businesses, and we tried to all work together to figure out how we support, our local businesses that had to shut down, our restaurants that could only do takeout. It was actually kind of nice. I didn't have to cook for
Yeah.
a couple months there. We were able to, support our business communities that way. And coming out of it, I pulled them together because we wanted to make sure that what we were doing benefited them. I can have all of these great ideas, but if it's not going to work for one of the businesses, then it doesn't work for all the businesses. So, we asked them, what do you want? We tried outdoor seating. So we've got some outdoor seating where we can do it on our sidewalks and people love it. We tried closing down Main Street, but that's a little bit more difficult to do. Businesses have continued to thrive. And I say thrive in that they're still there. They're not actually closing. They've been able to weather. And now that people are coming back into town through different events, they're starting to see that increase in their business. And again, we just push and promote them as much as possible.
Are you getting the support that you need from the state, from Trenton, when it comes to making sure that you are the small businesses have the resources that they need, that your roads, bridge, that infrastructure is all being able to stay in really good running condition? Because you do have so many people who come in and out of town. A lot of people coming through there who don't live there. So, are you getting the support you need?
We are. I mean, I've always, and again, to me, it didn't matter who my representatives were in Trenton. I would go to all of them and harass them unmercifully. They come to visit. to give us good news and I ask for something else. But again, it's me asking not just on behalf of my town, but for the community surrounding me. And we all leverage our relationships to get what we need. We've gotten for our roads, obviously when you have a lot of roads that need to be maintained, those costs go up. So when we get the DOT grant monies for our discretionary aid, those are huge helps. We managed to get from Congressman Malinowski almost $3 million for water and sewer infrastructure. And from the state budget last year, I worked hard, but we managed to get a $3 million appropriation because we need a new police department. I have a police department that's in the flood zone and it's in 500 square feet of our existing municipal building. So I don't have what we need to provide true coverage in our town.
You mentioned earlier in our conversation a couple of a couple of celebrations coming up, or anniversaries coming up for the Art Museum and for the Red Mill. So can you talk a little bit about that and what you might have planned? Because, even though we're still in winter, people are looking forward to the springtime and getting out and about and moving around and enjoying that sunshine that we're
Yes.
waiting to see.
And we've got a week this week in the 60s, which will be wonderful.
Right, there you go.
So the Art Museum is celebrating its 70th anniversary. We had a ribbon cutting last month just to kind of kick it off. They have different events and different artists that'll be in throughout the rest of the year. They are doing one of our restaurants or one of our businesses, they're doing these pop-up dinners. So it's a partnership. You can go, you buy a ticket, you have cocktails at the Art Museum, and then you go over to Nourish to Heal to have a nice dinner. They're going to show you how they do all the cooking in the kitchen and all of the projects that they work on. And they just each month they've got different initiatives going on. Then at the Red Mill, it's celebrating 60 years. And the Red Mill always has something. We're constantly having events that are coming up. So the big one that'll be coming is Derby Day. They do their own Kentucky Derby party. It's very cool. We all come with our hats that are decorated in sometimes unique ways.
Now listen, I'm from Louisville, so you got
I
my
know.
attention. I was born, and listen, what's also been coming up on my Instagram feed, aside from the beautiful Red Mill, are Derby hats. So now I've got someplace to go aside from my own living room to watch the Derby. Tell me more about that. Go ahead. I interrupted you.
Oh no, it is a great part. They've been doing it now for a couple of years, and it just continues to grow. They do it outside. They have a huge tent in the back of the property. They've got a nice patio there, so they put up a huge tent. They have activities. They have raffles. Obviously, they've got the nice step and repeat. We all get our pictures in front of them with our Derby hats on. And we just have a great time with great food. And we have our own stick horse races. So we get to see who can be, the mayor, a couple of the mayors will challenge one another to see who can be better. It's always a competition.
What do you enjoy the most about being mayor? I know that, we've talked about budgets and, certain, helping businesses get back on track after the pandemic. But what is it that because you've been the mayor many, many years, what is it that you enjoy so much about it? Because it can be a thankless job.
Yes, it can be. But, when you get to see how the work you do positively impacts, even if it's just one person, I love this community. I love the county. And having been with the league, I work with towns outside the county as well. Just, we all come together for the betterment of our communities, of our towns, of our neighborhoods. And I think we saw it really in the pandemic. I had done a TEDx talk right after, as we were coming out of the pandemic, and I really focused on how we came together. We got off of our devices. And I watched people walking through the parks. I saw more dogs in town than I'd ever seen before. We had a litter of puppies during the pandemic. We just tried to do all of these things. And it was all about keeping people engaged and connected when we had to be separate. So, knowing that we continue to do that work. And I love the town. I'm not going anywhere. This is my home. It's been my home since I was a kid.
Yeah. And you've had movies made there. There was a local filmmaker
Yes.
right? We were talking about this. That
Yes.
made a movie, and you were in the movie?
I was in the movie. I got to play a zombie, and I did have a speaking role as a zombie. Our local business owner, Mark Zulutani, owns City Spot Coffee, and he is a filmmaker. He's done a number of documentary shorts about the town of Clinton, and he had this idea for a feature-length film and started it right before the pandemic. So it kind of went on hiatus for a little while. He tweaked the script. It was completely volunteer based. All of the actors in it were all local, and it was partnered with the Red Mill because a lot of the filming was done during Haunted, so we were able to utilize some of the settings. So it's a rom-com horror. It's probably the best way to describe it. But it was so much fun. We just had a blast, and we screened it in August of last year. So now he's working on his next film.
Mayor, well, we thank you so much for taking the time and for having a little bit of fun with us as we're, get a little cabin fever. We've got to have something fun and exciting to look forward to in the spring. So we thank you so much, Mayor.
Thank you so much.
And that will do it for today. I'm Laura Jones. Thanks so much for watching New Jersey Politics. We look forward to seeing you back here next time.